months.
Forget the SMART. Just forget it. Yeah, it doesn't, you know, that's the thing with the problem with SMART goal is it implies inherent enthusiasm and it's not true. So we have to create that through a non-financial goal. And it doesn't have to be time bound. But are we celebrating it? Are we catching people doing what we want them to do as leaders and managers? That's the important piece there. Thanks for bringing that up, DJ. Carlin.
I actually just kind of was thinking of a way that it possibly could be measured. And this is not something we do at the chamber, but I was at a business and they have a kind of a neat culture within their business. So they actually have a bell that they can ring in their lobby, and they ring the bell for every success story that happens. If they close an account, they exceeded a goal, completed a project, get a compliment from a client or customer or something like that, they get the chance to ring the bell.
Love it. Love it.
It's a great success celebration. You can start to quantify that. You know, let's get 5 bell rings.
Right on. Absolutely, you can measure that. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't it? And look, how much does a bell cost in your budget? Can you afford a bell at your organization? Do you think? Yeah. I mean, think about some of these things we're talking about. The great thing is they're not expensive. You know, they are really not resource dependent. They're imagination constrained. That's a great example. Of course you can measure that. At the Douglas Lake Bar and Steakhouse, I required each server, depending on the time of the season, they had to turn in a certain amount of customer satisfaction cards. So I wanted to make sure that they were very proactive in asking people, would they please fill it out? And there was a bonus for people because it went into a drawing and so forth, and we contacted people. There was an incentive for people. But I made sure the staff didn't turn in their allocated 5 or 10 if it was a busy time of year. Then if there was a pattern, I would talk to people. But we would measure those. So that's how we gauged this, try to quantify the non-quantifiable of customer satisfaction. And we looked at those every night, and those were part of our team meetings, one of the things we exchanged. Where are we this week? Where are the good comments, and where do we need to improve on? So yeah, there's ways. That's the red flag mechanism for me, Nancy. That's one of my channels there, so I know I've got really that. Because, you know, if you're in the hospitality business, you know people are dirty, rotten liars, right? Customers. They're dirty, rotten liars. No, I didn't just say that. But to put it another way, right? Tell me if I'm wrong here, Carol, is in the hospitality industry, for every person who complains, there was 10 who didn't. Yes. You're nodding your head. That's true, isn't it? It's measurable. So, you know, don't shoot the squeaky wheel is one learning, right? We don't shoot the messenger around here. So thank God someone gave us some feedback because the other 10 didn't. And the other learning is people are dirty, rotten liars. Did I already say that once? But one way that you can create that avenue for people to be honest with you is through written. And people are going to be much more honest writing than they do verbally. Here's the thing. Thanks for, we're shooting through goals. We're doing vision, values, goals. We're going circular in a way. Now here's an interesting thing between good and great organizations. Is there's no quantifiable distinction between great organizations and good organizations in terms of either the amount of goals or the quality of the goals. The average organizations out there have just as good goals as the great ones do. Here's an interesting distinction. The most successful change transformations in organizations are likely to set behavioral goals. The high-performing organizations, 89% of the top third had behavioral goals versus only a third of the bottom third. Your goals are going to be largely tractionless in your organization in terms of galvanizing people's energy, focus, and discipline unless you have behaviors attached to them. You see Zappos values on the back of your page? Those are behaviors that they hire, coach, train, and fire by. What do people need to start doing? Important change begins with somebody doing something differently. Simple as that. What are we going to start doing more of? What do we already do well? Let's do more of that. Every organization does some things very well. And what do we need to start doing behaviorally? What's our threshold for picking up the telephone when a customer calls? Is it 2 rings? Is it 3? Do people know? Or do you just say, make sure you answer the phone as quick as you can around here? One of those vague customer service goals. We need to be polite to people here. We need to be customer focused. We need to treat everyone like a king or queen. Well, what does that mean? It's like asking someone to clean your toilet. You know, everyone cleans the toilet differently. So, you know, your definition of clean and my definition of clean are different. I learned that as a restaurant owner. When you say go, when you ask someone to go clean the darn toilet, you're like, wow, people have a different understanding of a clean toilet than I do. Isn't that interesting? And useful if I do something about it. So then as a manager, I have to ask what? The red face question. I have to ask, did I show what great looks like? Have you shown your people what great looks like? Do they know? If you haven't, shame on all of us. You've got to show people. They need to see. You need to coach them, right? I know we're a lot of smart people. We forget that piece. What do you want them to do? Have you shown them how to do it? Have you coached them on it and given them real-time feedback?